Introduction to the three-phase plan and unplugging yourself from the system. The first 5 videos have been merely orientations. Their scope has been broad, far too broad to outline everything we need to say. Now we are beyond these orientations, hopefully you will have some insight into what this group believes and what our motivations and intentions are. Anything and everything we do or say will be for the express purpose of building a better world. A world that is better for everyone, and as free from bias, prejudice and bigotry as is possible, given the limited zeitgeist of the day, and as fair and as open as we can make it. Now when we say we are not just referring to the members of this group, we're referring to anyone listening to these presentations. For all our good intentions, there are many subjects we are simply not qualified to tackle alone. This admission is freely offered and in no way is a sign of weakness, just mere intellectual honesty. In fact, it is a sign of strength. Admitting one's foibles and limitations freely, without reservation, is essential, something that politicians can never do. We believe through meaningful intellectual debate with other open-minded, free-thinking individuals who care enough about suffering in any form, we can make a difference. Together, with our combined intellect and knowledge base, we can change the world for the better, forever. It has been decided that simply ploughing forward, backing up the assertions of the first series, is not the best way to proceed at this point. It is true that the first series has been quite depressing and hard to get through, and so it should be. This group are trying to make you see, if you don't already, that the system we have is fundamentally flawed, and indeed is the reason that so many of us are dissatisfied with our lives, and worse still, that 25 million people a year starve to death. We reap what we sow by our indecision, our apathy, and by how fractured and disenfranchised our nature is. No longer can the powers that be keep us in chains. Both their grip on the economy and their grip on our minds is slipping fast. And why is this? We live in an age where we have all the information and education we need to emancipate ourselves. So like-minded individuals need to come together in forums like this to generate ideas and have the debate on how we proceed. But first, it's worth noting that most of us are not qualified or educated to deal with the problems we face, and that is exactly the way the powers that be want it. For as long as there have been civilizations, those in power have sought to it that a moratorium on the knowledge they possess is in effect, and the knowledge needed to control lies solely with themselves. It is time for all of us to take responsibility for our own education, because no one is going to do it for us. In fact, as stated, there are forces working day and night to see to it that we never achieve this state. So we would like to make a start on a video series that will hopefully solve the world's problems step by step. It is worth noting that this channel is in a beta state constantly, and what you are viewing is only the first draft. It is our intention to scrap everything and start again in the not too distant future, incorporating all the corrections and suggestions we get from you, the viewers. That is why your input is so essential, so please, please, please speak up and tell us your opinions. Not just that, but note that every time you comment, the rating of the video goes up, so more and more people will see it. Even if you disagree with us, just having the debate on as many forums as possible is a good thing. So how do we proceed from here, this point in time, where we are now, and where do we hope to be when we have finished? Well, while it is true it is important that we need to outline our goals, this to a degree has already been done. Films, television, sci-fi is a great example. We are constantly being bombarded with utopian visions of the future. Star Trek, the Venus Project. There are so many visions of a peaceful and productive future that outlining our aims really isn't our first priority. What all of these things lack, including the Venus Project for all its graces, is a clear roadmap of how we get there. In fact, it is fair to say that none of these systems really give much pause to this problem. Without a step-by-step set of instructions, we will never reach these goals, if indeed they are our collective goals. So the Democracy Delusion Group proposes a 3-stage plan to be put into effect. At the end of each phase, studies should be done to assess the effectiveness of each phase, and corrections and alterations to the plan should be made. Or, to assess whether further alteration is needed at all. So step 1 is our short game. The goal should be to fix the democracy we have in the immediate future as much as possible, to see if it is viable at all, but with the portents of moving on to step 2, our mid-game, which will more radically alter the landscape of our social stratification. Believe it or not, step 1 is actually not the hardest step in the plan to figure out intellectually. It might well prove, however, to be the hardest to implement. Step 1 is simply the culmination of the last 2,000 years or so of political thought. Step 2, if it is so needed, will be the transition from our former democracy to step 3, our endgame, a global, resource-based utopia. Figuring out the whys and the wherefores of this phase is the most complicated part of the plan. Step 3 is easy by comparison. If we can complete stage 2, the hard work has already been done. Stage 3 is simply the implementation of stage 2.